Mr. Tigray, you claim you didn't know Mr. Glenn Elg, but it appears that Mr. Elg knew you. What? Mr. Elg left this little note on his calendar. Meet with the Tiger, dated December 3rd. December 3rd? That's the day of the murder. So, Mr. Tigray, I submit that you did not indeed know one Mr. Elg, because on the very day, the instant you met with him. What's wrong, buddy? Not bad. Yuza actually got not bad. Sorry? I was just messing with Yuza, to see how good you were. Did you hear that, Nick? He said you're not bad. That's one compliment I can do without, plus he's lying through his teeth. Witness, please remember that you're under oath. Lies will not be tolerated. Yuza calling me a liar. Is that what you doing? Bro. So you're saying that your claim to have never seen that kid before is the truth? I said I'm dead serious. Yuza better believe that's the truth. Huh. Then I'd say that gives me time to enjoy another cup of pure black magic. That is, while you testify for the court again, Mr. Tigray. Oh yes, would you mind indulging the court witness? You never actually met the victim. That's gotta be a lie right there. This time I nailed this guy. Mr. Glenn Elg. I ain't no liar, I never met Glenn Elg. There's some lame guy with that name, though. Wanted to borrow cash from me. I set up a meeting with the guy in my office, Tender Linder. I waited around for him, but he ain't ever showed up. I ain't never seen him before. I ain't never been into that Tribulations joint. Is it here? Can I present the fact that you took out a loan? That Jean took out a loan? On that part? I see, that all seems perfectly logical. You had arranged to meet with the victim, but he didn't show up. I've heard it's pretty hard to keep appointments when you're dead. Very well, you may begin your cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. Didn't I tell you got a big deal going down today? I ain't gonna make my bus now. I'm gonna have to take the express train. That bill's going straight to you, right? I fucking can't press anything, because you'll die if you do. No. Okay. I could either show this loan contract, but he could say that he didn't actually go there. These came from there, though. Mr. Tigray, is there something you'd like to tell the court about these matches? Matches? What are you talking about? We found them in your office at Tender Linder. They're from that restaurant. What? If you've never really been to Tribulations before. What was a book of restaurants matches doing on your desk? You've been snooping around in my stuff now too, wise guy. What are you doing, my ball and chain? Ain't no broad controlling me. Order. Well, witness. I think it's time you started telling us the truth, don't you? Sorry, I'm terribly sorry. Forgive me. I ain't no pussycat. I don't go back on what I said. But okay. I was at that joint that day. What? But listen good, alright. I might have been there, but I still never met that kid. Well. Looks like an order just came in for for another testimony. I'm this close to proving who it was. He did meet Glenn Elg that day. And he did put poison in his coffee. He must have. I was supposed to meet with the kid at the restaurant that afternoon. When I opened the door to the joint, I saw one ugly scene. The guy was laid out on the table, stiff as concrete. I figured if the police wasn't hot already, it was gonna be, so I split. I heard the cop sirens on my way out, and I went straight back to my office. What time was it that you showed up? I see, you didn't actually meet with him in the end. Well, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, please. Yes, Your Honor. Hold it, if I wait around here any longer, I ain't even gonna make the normal express. No more stupid questions. No problem. Anytime Troy presses you on something irrelevant, I'll see he pays a penalty. Mr. Godot, that's my job. Your job is to slam that little hammer of yours and call a guilty verdict, so do it. Yes, sir. A special explain ain't cheap, right? Just so users know since you's a payin'. Oh man, doesn't the rule of law mean anything around here? Not with Mr. Tigray. When I opened the door of the joint, I saw one ugly scene. Maybe the crime scene photo? Crime scene photo. There's a wall right there, so you might not have been able to see it. Yeah, you wouldn't. There is a wall right there. You wouldn't have been able to see it if you just walked in the door. You'd have had to move a couple extra steps into the door. So you wouldn't be in the door. You're something of a loan collecting pro, aren't you, Mr. Tigray? No one escapes the tiger's clutches. Well, something of a lie detecting pro. And no one escapes the Phoenix's clutches. I think it's time we got something straight. What's this, Troy? A new line of irrelevant questioning? These are the floor plans of the crime scene. You say you were standing at an entrance, Mr. Tigray? From there, your field of vision would have covered an area something like this. Indeed, the witness would have had a clear view of the victim's scene. Isn't that what it just said? I saw the back of the kid's head. Unfortunately for you, that is not possible. If the court would think back, you'll remember that between each of the tables is a tall partition. That's not a partition, that's a fucking wall. Why, that's true. Now look at the plans again. The truth is painfully obvious. From the entrance, the field of vision of any customer walking in ends here. What also tapers off a little bit. But he wouldn't have seen the victim. So from the entrance of Tribulations, you couldn't have seen the victim's seat. But you did see the victim that day because you met with him. Wrong. Have you forgotten the old man's testimony yesterday? The victim was alone at his table. But the defense just proved that point to be moot. The victim witnessed by Mr. Kudo was not the Glen Elg, but a fake. What? In order to have Mr. Kudo falsely testify, the real killer posed as the victim he had just killed and acted out a charade. How is he impostoring everyone? That will do. This trial has gone on long enough without the obvious question being answered. Who exactly was this real killer who impersonated the victim? You say that the killer murdered Glen Elg and then impersonated his victim in a performance for Victor Kudo. In that case, Mr. Wright, reveal the identity of the criminal. That would be no other than Tigray. The killer is Furio Tigray. No one else could have done it. What? What witness? Now that's cute. Yuza think you can pin this on the tiger. Maybe Yuza don't understand. The tiger is king of the jungle. So I dare you to say it again. Come on, you got the guts. You can't threaten me, Mr. Tigray. It's the defense. Go ahead and tell the witness, Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright? Sounds to me like it must have been you, old man. Yuza got guts, I'll give you that. Mr. Wright, do not let me handle this alone. I'm taking in this embarrassment. Mr. Godot. Let's just go back over Mr. Kudo's testimony one more time. The old man didn't just see the victim. Oh, no, no, no. The serving girl brought him a Jack Pacino, but she put something in it. There's no question about it. She's very conspicuously put some white powder in there. Was the victim he saw the real victim or not? That doesn't matter. The fact remains he saw the accused put the poison into the coffee. Yes, it was the waitress who bought... Very impressive, Mr. Godot. Waiting for my absence to launch your attack. Huh. Found your pen at last, right? It was in my pocket. Anyway. Mr. Godot witnessed two people that day. He saw the victim, the supposed Mr. Glenelg, and the waitress, from behind. Your point, Mr. Wright. I think the conclusion is obvious. If this Glenelg was really the killer in disguise, then surely it's possible that the waitress was also part of the show. What? You mean the waitress was an imposter as well? The defendant, Miss Bird, fell unconscious immediately after the incident. And someone used her fainting to hatch an elaborate plan to pin the murder on her. Who on earth was it? Who was the waitress that Mr. Kudo saw? And then Viola. Or Violetta. Who is this woman? Her name is Viola Cadaverini. She's an employee of Tenderlinder. He's making a big mistake. Do you know who Violetta's grandfather is? You gotta be going home in an armored truck tonight if you know what I mean. Stop shaking, Nick. Where was I? Yes, the defendant, Miss Bird, has stated the following. Well, when I took the coffee over to the victim's table, it's true there was another customer in the restaurant. She was sort of creepy, and she had a kind of cackling laugh. There are just too many contradictions in this case. The second man at the victim's table, who nobody but Miss Bird seemed to have seen. The earpiece worn by the victim in his left ear when the left eardrum was ruptured. And the radio show he was supposedly listening to half an hour after it was over. There's only one logical explanation that clears up all these contradictions. The whole incident took place twice. Once for real and once for show. And Mr. Furio Tigre, the only person who could have committed the crime, was you. Witness, what have you got to say? That's cute. Sorry? You're alright. I could go do with a guy like you around. What do you mean? Okay, I'm in on this game. I'm gonna have to charter a jet to get me to my meeting now, but I'm gonna give you one more thing to think about before I go. Something to think about. Yuza got it all wrapped up nice, huh? Right. But Yuza missed out one real important thing. But that can't be. I was in that joint that day, and I met with that kid too. But I couldn't have poisoned him, you hear? What, do you really expect us to believe you now, Mr. Tigre? What a troublemaker. Troublemaker. Looks like we're going to need another one for the road. One more steaming cup of hot testimony, please. Indeed. Witness, you will explain yourself to the court. I'll give you one more chance to testify. What happened that day at Tribune between yourself and the victim? Yeah, I loaned cash, about $100,000. That day we was due to have a little chat. The kid had hit his payback date, see? So anyway, he tells me he's got no way to pay up. I'm about to flatten the guy when he starts screaming. Yeah, I won $500,000. He got lucky, you know? Real lucky. If that waitress hadn't done what she done, everything would have been over. Now I see that the principal amount you loaned to Mr. Elk was $50,000. Yeah, well, user got the VIG to take into account. Interest builds up fast, you know. That's faster than fast. $100,000 is twice his principal. And the repayment deadline was December 3rd, the day of the incident in question. Yeah, he was one lucky kid. He got that $500,000 just in time. So I ain't have no reason to kill the kid. If I ain't got no motive, you ain't got no case. His motive. He has to have one. But what is it? I already know that. I already know that. Doesn't matter. What's she done? What'd she do? The waitress, you mean? The girl with glasses in the defendant's chair, who's who I mean. If she ain't gotten that way, things would have been bada bing, bada boom, over and done with. Maybe I should push a little on this. What do you mean? What do you mean things would have been over with and done with? You was all there, what? I'm talking about the cash. I was there to get my $100,000 back, that's all. I'm a businessman. It's all coming together before that waitress got in the way. As far as I can tell from the witness's testimony, other than recouping his loan, Mr. Tigre had no motive for killing the victim. Witness, you will amend your testimony to reflect what you just said. The tiger's motive. So you didn't want this MC Bomber stuff? So you just intended to get $100,000 back, Mr. Elk owed you, correct? I loaned the guy the cash, that's my right. Unfortunately, for Mr. Elk, I don't believe the $100,000 is what you were after. What are you getting at, Trite? What else would a moneylender be after other than the money? Oh, the moneylender was after money, but money in a totally different language. The kind of money that a single disc like this would fetch. What is that? A computer virus here, or a virus called MC Bomber. Computer virus? What does one of those do? A computer virus is a program that wreaks havoc on the insides of a computer. A computer? What does one of those do? I guess this beard isn't the only part of his honor that is from the Stone Age. I'll explain it to you later, Your Honor. Right now, this is the important part. A virus called MC Bomber would be worth several $1 million on the black market. Several $1 million? Lending money with no hope of ever seeing repayment would normally be bad for business. But in this case, the very fact that Glen Elg had no way to repay the money is crucial. What? Glen Elg was a programmer, a highly skilled programmer. That skill was the collateral Mr. Elg put up in order to borrow the money.
Objection!
You're trying to suggest the witness's motive was to get a hold of that program? Exactly. The witness may have a poor fashion sense, but he is by no means an idiot, right? A man like him could get his hands on $1 million without resorting to murder. Of course he could, provided he had time. What if he needed the money right then? When the pressure's on, the luxury of choice tends to disappear. It seems you have a logical conclusion for this theory, Mr. Wright. Would you care to share it with us? Why did Mr. T. Gray need money to the tune of $1 million? That would be the medical bills.
Take that!
In December last year, you found yourself in need of a huge amount of money. About 6 months ago, you were involved in a traffic accident, weren't you? An accident involving a car and a scooter in which a young woman was injured. She was taken to the hospital where she underwent surgery. Where did you get all this info? These medical papers document the treatment of the young woman in question. According to these, her operation cost $1 million. Payment for these expenses was due in December of last year and was paid in full. $1 million, a preposterous sum. Someone should sue those HMOs. These HMOs. No one would pay a bill like that. If the medical association wouldn't have been, the hospital wouldn't have been dead as a morgue. But Mr. Tigre had no choice but to pay, because his very life depended on it. He wasn't owing no damn hospital $1 million. Order. You say his life depended on it, Mr. Wright. Indeed it did, simply because the injured woman was none other than Viola Cadaverini. Did you say Cadaverini? Bruto Cadaverini, mob boss in charge of all underworld activities in the city, and doting grandfather to his precious Violetta, also known as Viola. Poor. Your life was in danger unless you paid compensation to the boss, correct? It makes sense. You were desperate to acquire the $1 million the Cadaverini demanded of you. So desperate, in fact, that you decided to sacrifice Glen Elg's life to pay your debt. On the day of the murder, Mr. T. Gray's sole intention was to get his hands on the CD. Mr. Glen Elg had no way of paying back the $100,000, and Mr. T. Gray knew it. But then a miracle happened. That kind that Mr. T. Gray would prefer to say it never happened, but he can't. Neither can I. A lottery win. Exactly, at the 11th hour, Mr. Elg won $500,000 on the lottery, which left Mr. T. Gary with no way of getting his hands on an all-important CD. At least no legitimate way. Suitors are illegitimate means. That's crazy. He murdered Glen Elg and then made his next move, to frame Maggie Bird for the crime. Mr. T. Gray posed as Glen Elg, while Viola Cadaverini played the role of Miss Bird. And then they reenacted the whole thing in order to establish a witness. The witness being the one who we all heard testify yesterday, Mr. Victor Kudo. Like I said, Trey, that's crazy. No one could pull off a stunt like that. For starters, there's no way the chef could have been kept out of it. But Mr. Armstrong knew all about it. Have you forgotten already, Mr. Godot? Mr. Armstrong owed the witness money to $500,000, in fact. He had no choice but to go along with Mr. Tigre's plan. Order! Silence or I will... You to put on a good show, Spiky. You to want to stay alive in the loan shark business, you gotta be careful. You's saying I dressed up like that kid, create a witness and frame someone. If I did something crazy like that, I'd leave a trail as bright as my shirt. I ain't dumb enough to do something sloppy like that. I agree. What? Despite your appearance, you're very careful. That's why you took one more precaution. One more trick to make sure Miss Bird had no way out. What, another one, Mr. Wright? Yeah, he faked me. Interesting, why don't you fill us all in, Trite? What was the trick you used to frame the accused? Fake badge. What on earth is that? What an insult to think what an insult to think anyone could be fooled by such a childish imitation. Considering yourself insulted, Your Honor. Mr. Tigre, you didn't just pose as a victim on the day in the question. A month ago in this very courtroom, you posed as me. What? That's the truth. But the witness looks nothing like you, Mr. Wright. Although, now that I think about it, it was you, wasn't it? No doubt it was you, standing in here this very court a mere month ago. The Phoenix Wright who put up the most disreputable, shabby business I'd ever seen.
Objection.
Can you prove that, Gramps? Prove that the attorney who represented the accused here a month ago was this man. Are you prepared to take the stand and testify that it was him? Oh. Hey. Forget about that, yeah? I wouldn't do something like that, not me. You made a mistake, right? It was someone else, huh? Have you no pride, sir? This isn't a matter of pride. In case you didn't know, Trite, here in court, we deal with people's lives. Mr. Godot was right, Your Honor. Speaking for myself, I'm absolutely convinced. The attorney in question was the witness standing before me now. However, I preside over the court as the judge, with the vested power handed down the verdict. Someone in my position cannot be swayed by memory without evidence to support it. No. If the defense has no further evidence, the court will now excuse the witness. The circumstances surrounding Mr. Tigre are dubious for sure, but not conclusive. How we come so far? You say he impersonated Quinnell, you say he impersonated you, but none of that adds up to a murder charge. You don't have a shred of evidence that the witness poisoned the victim's coffee. Sucks to be you, right? Don't mess with the tiger, you're gonna get mauled, you get that? All we managed to do here was chase him around a bit. But I was so close to getting him to admit his own guilt. Looks like I won't be needing a refill. If I just had one more piece of evidence. One more piece of evidence and maybe I could get Maggie off the hook. The witness's cross-examination is over. You're free to go, Mr. Tigre. Gumshoe? Your Honor, sir. Wait! Detective Gumshoe? Sorry it took so long, pal. I staked everything on this, my badge, the works. So here it is, my heart's counting on this too. What is it, detective? Isn't it obvious, pal? It's the final decisive piece of evidence. What? Are you fucking kidding me? 2:48 p.m. District Court, defendant order number 1. Sorry it took so long, pal. Oh, I finally got the results from the lab. The results? About the prints, pal, from this medicine bottle. Oh, so who do you know do you know who the prints belong to? Do you think I'm some kind of hack detective? Of course I know. So tell us, they're the tigers, is that right? I knew it, Armstrong. Haha, you bet. Clear as crystal all over the bottle. They're Furrier Tigre's paw prints, alright. That's great, we've got him now, Nick. What's wrong with you? You've hardly said a word since Detective Gumshoe got here. He's laid everything on the line for this, Nick. I know, look, I'm sorry. It's kind of hard to say, but it really doesn't make any difference whose prints are on the bottle now. Yeah, because it doesn't prove he's a murderer. It just proves that he forged the crime scene.